I have your attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Black Diamond, and you're tuned in to Basic Black After Dark, the show that meets you where you are and gives you what you ask for. But tonight we're going to give you a little bit more. We're diving deep into stories that echo with pain, healing, and the pursuit of love. I am honored to welcome two incredible women who have turned their personal truths into powerful written testimonies. Joining us are tonight's powerful voices in storytelling. Miss Farron McLemore, she is the author of The Voice of a Mother's Pain. That book delivers a raw and unflinching journey through maternal grief, resilience, and healing. We're also honored to welcome none other than Natalie Murphy. She is the author of To Be Loved by Blue. Now, see, if black wasn't my favorite color, I would turn to blue. A beautifully lyrical exploration of longing, self discovery, and the unexpected places where love chooses to find us. So get ready, hold on to your seats, get some tissue if you need it. This is not just a conversation, this is soul work. So please welcome Farron and Natalie to Basic Black After Dark.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Wow. Your books, the names, the titles, it's just chilling to me, period. It really is. So we're gonna stir things up a little bit here. So Farron, I wanna ask this question because the mother's voice, the voice of a mother's pain. What stirred your soul to write the voice of a mother's pain?
You know what? First, again, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to, just be on your show and just to be able to share just this platform with you. So thank you. Also, just a huge shout out to Dr. Carolyn Stevens and the HC Media who helped me put this whole thing together, who helped bring this whole vision to life. Um, I have to thank her for that and these incredible women. So, the voice of a mother's pain. Five incredible women, including myself, we are raising children with disabilities or special needs. So this book deeply it was born from my own experience of my daughter being born with a rare condition called incontinentia pigmenti, also known as IP. Being a first time mother to this unknown and navigating that pain, that fear, and the unknown. There were times where I felt voiceless during one of the most traumatic times in my life. So watching my daughter fight for her life and also facing my own medical crisis, which you got to get the book to see what I went through. But I knew I wasn't alone in it. So many mothers carry silent pain, and I wanted to give a voice not only to my own story, but I wanted to also give a voice to every woman who has ever endured grief, guilt, or worry in silence.
So this story was rooted in your own lived experiences, the voices of other women, and basically a combination of both. What
Yes.
was it like trying to pull everybody together? Because when you're talking about pain of a child, especially your own child, what was that like approaching other women and asking them to write about their lived experience?
You know what? It went smoother than I thought, actually. Um, I know one of them, but the others, it was just reaching out just to see who would be willing to share their journey. You have to think about it. This is a traumatic experience for most of us. So to
Yeah.
rewrite about it, to relive it, I know that even though we're currently living it, it
Hmm.
was traumatic to revisit just all of what our child went through. And actually, it was
Yeah.
pretty smooth. I introduced myself to these incredible women, and we bonded. We were able to bond, on it was such a connection because we understood what it was like to raise these children with this disability. I tell people all the time, I can connect with you because you have children, but it's a different connection when you're raising a child with a disability because it's just a
Yes.
whole nother ballpark. And especially if you're a first time mother, there's no rule book to parenting. So
No, it's not.
you are literally figuring this out. And so connecting with each of them, we all shared our stories together. Some of us even cried together.
It's okay.
Just finding that community of people who understand, right? And that was the biggest thing is having someone who understands that you can go to and no longer have to suffer in silence.
Well, I'm so happy that you guys have each other to support one another through this journey. And I'm hoping that, I'm not sure of the other young ladies, but I'm hoping that they find a cure for everything. I hate to hear that any child is sick. It really bothers me because I like for them to run and play and do everything else. And they may be able to do that, but then there's some limitations with them. Maybe they get exhausted a little bit more, or maybe
Hmm.
it's just a little bit too much on them. So that bothers me. But you're doing a wonderful job with raising your daughter, and I see her with you all the time, and
Thank
she's
you.
a beautiful child, and you have a beautiful family. I've seen them.
Thank you.
To be loved by Blue is such a
Yes.
poetic and powerful title. Can you share what blue symbolizes in your story?
In my story, blue symbolizes police officers. So the main character, Antoinette Tony Kennedy, has had such disappointment when it comes to the men in blue. Her uncle, her dad, and one of her male interests. And they've all in some way hurt her or disappointed her. And
Hmm.
so she tends to have this thing to lean toward men in blue. And she ends up meeting Darius, who's a cop. And Darius is everything she doesn't want. He's an inch shorter than she is. She likes a more brown skinned
I'm
brother.
sorry.
Oh no, that's supposed to be funny.
I
She
mean,
likes.
look. That's what I'm into. Not. I'm so sorry. I just don't dig short men. So that's why I laugh. I thought I was the only person in the world that would say something like that, but no, I will not. If you're under 6 feet, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. I praise them all, but I just couldn't do
Everybody has their preference, and hers was is a
it.
man over 6 feet, brown skin.
Mm.
Darius is light skinned. He's shorter than her, and he's a cop, and he's got all kinds of corny pickup lines. But
Oh God,
that's what
he's one of
intrigues
those.
me.
He
Yes.
reminds me of you. Like, baby, what's your sign? Meeting him at the club. I'm a Scorpio. What's your sign?
So his very first line when
I don't
he
blame
meets her
her.
is, um, he tells her, "That's the very same face I see in my dreams every night. I just need the name to go
Oh
with
yeah.
it."
Okay. 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 Yeah. He's one for the books.
Yes, yes.
He is one for the right girl. I don't blame you, girl. I don't. I don't. That's why he's probably alone. He got the same line probably where everybody she rejects him, so he goes over there and he says the same thing to somebody else. Yeah. Now this is a book and we're sitting there cracking up laughing because we've seen that happen.
Oh,
It
absolutely,
Hmm.
happens.
absolutely. That is
Now,
a real
and
life
what?
thing.
Yeah, I know it is. What deeper meaning does it hold for the character and for you personally? Because you're saying it's a real life thing. Is these characters somebody you actually know?
They actually are not. But now, here's a really cool thing. So you see the picture of Darius behind me. My husband and I were in Chipotle in Madison, Illinois, and my husband says, "Babe, look over there. That cop looks like Darius." I'm like, "No, get out of here." And I look over and he does. And he goes, "Come on, let's go tell him. Let's go." I'm like, I'm not getting ready to go tell him. He looks like some made up character. Well, my husband, being as bold as he is, went right over to him, told the guy, "You know what? You look like one of her. She writes romance. You look like one of her characters." And he was like, "Is that right?" So since he's there, I'm like, okay. So I showed him the picture, the cover of the book, and he goes, "Will you look at that?" He said, and he has an arm sleeve like me too. They had the exact same
Oh
arm
wow.
sleeve.
Wow.
It was the
So
weirdest thing to see one of my characters in real life. And even he said, "Oh yeah, he looks like me." So, but
well,
no,
I
these are
hope he
not
picks
real
up a better
characters.
line. I truly hope he picks up a better line than what this character has, because that line is gonna take you absolutely nowhere.
Oh, there
I want
he's
to
got.
say
They're all through the book. They're all through the book.
I got to get this book. I
But
get this
Tony
book.
loves
I
it.
want to take a shout out to Dee Dee. Hey Dee Dee, thank you so much. I could just imagine. Look, he seemed like he's a card.
They
So
both are.
Author Farron McLemore is an amazing woman. I admire your strength and determination and the love you have for your baby. So sweet, Dee Dee. And
Thank
Dee Dee is
you.
such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
She's such a sweetheart.
And that is so true.
So
You definitely see Farron's love for her babies.
Thank you.
yeah. So how did you summon? See, we're gonna have to try to pull it together because this blue thing has just got me going. How did you summon the strength to pour such raw, unfiltered emotion into the voice of a mother's pain? I'm gonna read that. Again. I'm gonna say that again. How did you summon the strength? See, I should have had you separate altogether. How did you? Oh my
There, once I
goodness!
got under your skin.
How did you How did you summon the strength to pour such raw, unfiltered emotion into the voice of a mother's pain? In other words, what pushed you to speak your truth so boldly on the page? Now, we understand that it came through something unfortunate, which was, the illness of your daughter. But you were
Mhm.
bold when you wrote some of this stuff. So, what pushed you to speak so bold?
You know what? My strength came from my daughter Kamaya. Till this day, she doesn't fully understand what's going on, but I still watch her
Okay.
push through. Her resilience gave me the courage to comfort my own pain head on, to confront my own pain
Mm,
head on. Because if you look at this little
okay.
girl, she's going through all these, tests and all this pain, not knowing what's going on, but yet she keeps going. She keeps going. So writing, of course, is never easy, but every tear that I shed as I typed this story was a part of my healing. Because my passion is to
Mm,
uplift and inspire and encourage others. And I always ask God, how can I do that? Never knowing it was going to be with my daughter, never knowing that it was going to be my own, own real life experiences. So I reminded myself to be honest about my emotions, that it could give someone else freedom to acknowledge their own. So this book, I hope that this book will give other mothers permission to share their own stories, because having raising a child with disability sometimes can feel isolating, because the looks, the stares, the unsolicited advice, there's so much that comes with it. And I experienced that. People would stare because incontinence or pigmenty is a skin condition. It's primarily a skin condition. However, it affects your central nervous system, your way your hair grows, alopecia, the way
So it
your
goes a
eyesight.
little deeper than that.
Literally, it goes deeper, and it depends on your symptoms. They're mild to severe. So my daughter, she has a
Do they
severe.
come in stages?
Yes. So the skin condition. So
Oh
it's
wow.
newborn, 3, 6, 9, 12, and she's
Oh
10
wow.
today. And so they're like,
Happy birthday.
thank you. So literally, um, they're like wart like bumps is what they come and go. And so even today, just often examining her body, because it changes. right? This is something that she'll live with for the rest of her life. So everything changes. So we closely monitor, just, as she's getting ready to hit puberty. We have to understand what that looks like for her. So it's so much into it that we have to, focus on, and we have to prepare for. Still the unknown, right? But still just making sure she has, the support down the line with her dermatologist, eye doctor, everything we have lined up. So we have a pretty good support system for her, just to keep, make sure everything is squared away. She's actually getting ready for an EEG next week because she has seizures. That's another side effect of the
Mm.
condition. So we get a yearly EEG, and that's just going to tell us, what her brain is doing, because she is on a seizure medicine. So it's never easy, right? I know people may look at me and be like, "Girl, how did you? How are you, getting through it?" But it's the fact that I can share the story. It's the fact that I can inspire somebody else to keep going, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel, even on the darkest days. Now you have this book that can also help and walk you through it, and then you have me personally,
Yes, yes, yes.
who you can, lean on, because now I'm able to share as well as encourage as well as uplift. But the biggest thing is my daughter. I feed off of her strength, and her resilience, and just her courage to keep going.
She just wants to
Is our
play. She just seems,
Yeah.
she just wants to play. Just like
Yep.
everybody else's child. And
Hmm.
I don't like when you hear or even if you see someone who looks a little different than you do, that the stares coming in, especially from adults. You
Yeah.
would think that they
Mm,
would know better, but
just
they
rude.
honestly
And
they
that's what it
do.
was.
So
It was adults just staring. And I just got to the point where I would prefer you ask, right? I would love for you to just say, "Hey, it's something I never seen." Or a lot of people would ask me if it was eczema, which she did have a case of eczema before. But these literally are like sores. Like, they could be very sore. And like I said, they happen earlier stages, so they're not the same. But if seen her, you can see the swirl like patches like in her face, some on her arms. So it's very noticeable. But for someone who don't know, just ask. I would happily explain it
yeah.
to you, because I know that it is such a rare condition, which is the whole purpose of writing my first children's book, Shining Through My Journey with Incontinence or Pigmenty, to bring awareness to that, because it's so rare. And the voice of a mother pain just takes you a little bit deeper, and just into my journey, because it was
Well,
a
you
lot
definitely need to
more.
get both books.
Yeah, it was a
You
lot more
definitely
than
need to get
I
both of
said.
the books. So, what emotional journey do you hope readers experience through the eyes of your protagonist and to be loved by Blue?
The ride that
I'm
my
almost scared
readers
to
are
ask
gonna
you.
the ride that my readers are gonna take with my characters is going to be a bumpy one, because it starts
Hold on to your
out.
seats.
Say it again.
I said, hold on to your seats.
Right, exactly. Because it starts out with Tony fighting Darius, and Darius, who's again Mr. Corny Lines, is not looking for a real relationship. So they're looking to just have fun. They're looking for a hookup for the night, maybe a couple of nights, and then they're going to do their thing. But they find out that they actually are attracted to each other. So in that attraction, there's a push and pull. Tony's really struggling with letting her heart go, and Darius has gotten to the point where, you know what, I want her. I'm going after her. She's going to be mine. And then when Tony finally realizes that she can't escape it, well, then some things happen, and she's got to find out if she can make things work between she and Darius.
So, there's some emotional highs and lows and truths that'll confront them
Yes.
along the way.
Yes, she's got family drama that's gonna come about. Darius has two brothers that are gonna come into the picture, so there's a lot of family stuff going on, as well as some girlfriend stuff going on, because Tony has two best friends, and I love a good girlfriend story. So all my romances are always
This
gonna have
sounds,
that
it
element,
sounds like one of those
girlfriends.
Tyler Perry movies. That's what it sounds like.
Hmm.
Yeah, just like one of those Tyler Perry movies that you're gonna be coming back to. Yeah, it does. You know,
Mhm.
you're hearing it. Then when you talk about the family that's involved,
Yeah, Tony's
wow,
family is an interesting one.
I can imagine. I can't wait to get that book either. So when you talk about the voices of a mother's pain, I imagine it had to be difficult. What was the most difficult chapter for you to write and why?
So I would have to say the chapter where I had to recount our time in the NICU and my
Mm,
own hospitalization was the hardest because when I was hospitalized, that separated me from her. And even though it was just 3 days, that was the longest 3 days of my life.
mm,
Mm,
yeah, I can imagine. You
Because,
had away
but
from your
I,
baby.
because when you're, I didn't think about my own recovery. I had emergency C-section with her, and I never once thought you need to sit down and heal. Like you also had your own major surgery because I literally just wanted her to be okay. And even though I was physically weak, I was emotionally shattered, and I was even spiritually questioning everything.
Well,
So,
you had the right to.
hmm?
I said
I'm
you had
sorry.
the right to.
Yeah, yeah. But for me, so reliving that trauma, it brought a wave of grief that I thought I had buried because, like I said,
mm.
she's dead now. So I thought, I had got, pretty, I thought I was pretty healed from, that traumatic experience. But it also reminded me how far I had come. So even reliving it and, just to step back and to share that emotional story, every year, on her birthday, I go back and I look at those pictures because it shows me how far she's come. So even, each grade that she go to, each thing is celebrated because it's so much that comes with this condition. It's literally we celebrate everything on how far she's come because everything is such a celebration. Um, with it. But the biggest thing was the NICU experience because she was born in May and we didn't get home till July.
Oh
So
wow.
we literally
But she's
lived.
home now, and she definitely needs to be celebrated. But more than that, you and your husband need to be celebrated to be able to go through this journey and still hold it together and to keep it together.
Yes.
Because something like this could have broken you. It could have, and it did not. It just seemed like it strengthened you.
You
It
know
seemed
what?
like it strengthened you. So,
In the book, it you'll see that there were times where it literally had to be a shift, right? In your mindset. You have to shift your mind, and in prayer is what helped me through it. I literally began to thank God for the good news because I needed to speak it.
okay,
I needed to speak. I need to start speaking. And even though I was getting these results and these, the test results and stuff, I knew that God had the final say, and I knew that the doctors had a job to do. And it was because I would be angry at them. I was angry, like, why you keep coming here and giving me these bad results about my baby? But I knew that they had a job to do. But ultimately, I knew that God had the final say. And so I began to, I heard
it
what they
will.
said. But then I ended up, going back to pray. And I thank God for good news every day. That was my prayer. I thank you for good news today. And I thank you for good news tomorrow and the day after that. And as soon as that shifted, literally, the good news began to come. And I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel because I knew
Well,
that
you
it
were his.
was over. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You were his. You were God's job, and I feel that way because he needed to find somebody to do that job. So
Hmm.
your daughter being born with that, he needed to find the right person
Hmm.
to be able to go through that journey because you're bringing light to it. Had it may have been another mother, and unfortunately it probably is, she's
Hmm.
dealing with it silently and
Hmm.
not bringing it to the forefront. So, yes, 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 thank God for that
Yeah.
because He's going to
Yeah.
continue to use you in order for you to get this message across, and hopefully that somebody will say, "I'm going to go and try to figure out how can I help cure this." So,
Yeah.
how do you hope the voice of a mother's pain will speak to mothers who will silently suffer?
You know what? For me, again, I just hope it gives that permission, right? I hope that they see, okay, she put her whole personal story in this book, and she opened up without, turning that pain into purpose. So I hope that every mother who hears this, I hope that they know that they're not alone, and I hope that they know that their silence doesn't make them strong, it makes them isolated. So, I hope that they know that there's power in vulnerability and healing
Yes,
and
yes.
honesty. So whenever they are ready, I hope that their voice finds them. Until then, though, I hope that this book is just a reminder that they're not alone. Um, and then when the time is right, I just hope that they do let their voice be heard, so they can start that healing process.
Well, I hope that they're listening now and understanding that they're not alone. Natalie,
Yes.
we're going to go a little deeper. I have
Okay.
to, this character. How did your own personal understanding of love shape the way To Be Loved by You was written?
My own personal understanding of love for this book is that love is messy.
Mm.
Love takes courage. It takes strength. It takes determination. But in the end, if you hang in there, it can work. And that's what happened with Tony and Darius. Because love is messy.
So,
We know that when we're in our relationships, we know everything is not smooth sailing. We probably didn't. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even like my husband when I first met him. Kind of like Tony feels about Darius. I didn't like
yeah,
him.
that's what I'm saying. Like, in what ways did your lived experience influence how love is given, received, or withheld in this story? Because I would have loved to have been, I don't know whether they were in a bar, where they were at, but I know if I was sitting there and he ran that line, anything I was drinking would have been in the back of his head. Because it's no way in this day and age that a man is going to approach a woman with that corny line.
You know what? It's all
It's
kind
no
of special
way.
people in the world. I believe there's a Darius out there. I really do.
Oh, there's a couple of them out there. There's a
Absolutely,
couple
absolutely.
of
But
them out there.
when you get past all of the
So what's
corniness, then you get to meet the real person, and that's what Tony did. She finally opened up to meet the real Darius.
well, good for her because I couldn't have got past that line, and that would have been enough for me. And I would have been just bringing me that line would have annoyed me, and it really would have. I would have had to look at him, and I would have had to say something like, and it probably would have been rude. But are you
Oh, she
kidding
was
me?
rude. She responded.
Oh, see,
Yeah, she came
there
back.
you
She was
go.
rude.
There you go. So I'm not see. We might have a lot in common. I'm liking her already. I'm liking her already. So was so was To Be Loved by Blue born from a specific relationship or deeply personal experience in your life?
Not really. I like to look around. Okay, so there are a couple of things. One, I just take my inspiration from life. Um, the primary, I won't say primary, but part of the inspiration for writing a story about a cop is my favorite uncle was a cop and he passed away recently. So this was kind of my tribute to him to write a story about a cop. But this
Hmm.
is not his story. This is just, like I
Right.
said, I had an idea to write about a cop and this was it. And I liked the play on the word to be loved by blue because a lot of people ask that question. So what does blue represent?
Well, that's
How does
Blue,
blue
the police
play a
officer.
part in the title? So yeah, so
I
that's how.
get it now, and before I just didn't understand it. But I'm assuming that it's with the police officer because that's their thing. Blue,
Yes,
code
right,
blue. If an officer's down or anything else.
right.
Yeah, plus I watch a lot of TV cop shows, so I learned a lot from that.
I do
I
too. I
even know
love
what
SWAT
forklift
and
means now. So,
yeah.
oh yeah, Blue Bloods is it. I've learned a lot from that family. I even learned the way that they pray. So I've loved that show. People out there listening, please bring it back. So, what part of your own truth breathes? What part of your own truth breathes through this story?
What part of my own truth?
Mm-hmm.
Just that their relationships are hard. They can be hard,
Mm.
and you have to persevere. If it's what you want and you believe in it, and I'm very much a believer in love, then you stick it out, you fight it out.
Yeah. So the title itself is powerful. When you speak of voice, in the voice of a mother's pain, what does that represent for you, Farron?
Voice for me means no longer suffering in silence. It means
Mm.
honoring the unspoken fears and the cries behind closed doors, the guilt that we hide from the world, and giving my pain a voice transformed it from something that weighed me down to something that can uplift others.
So how does
Wow.
giving pain a voice shift its power?
I'm sorry, say it again.
How does giving pain a voice shift its power?
For me, to uplift, right? I think having a voice either first of all, using it depends on how you're going to use your voice in the situation. You know, you can let it tear you down, you can let it keep you down. But for
Mm.
me, I chose to use it as a way to uplift people because, again, just having that inspiration to do so, especially it being such a traumatizing thing, right? Um,
Yeah.
this situation at the beginning, a lot of people didn't know that my daughter even went through any of this because I needed to tell the right people who, one, who would pray for me, PRAY, and not PREY on me,
Mm.
that I would, because some
Yes, Lord.
people, you have these situations and people pray these situations on you. So a lot of people I didn't tell right away. A lot of people didn't know she went through a lot of this. They didn't know I went through a lot of this until these books came out. Because I think it was
Wow.
important who I shared such significant information with, those who I knew would support, who would be willing to learn, of this condition. We have such an incredible support system. Just our family taking the time to learn how to care for her, and not be scared of it, right? Because children with disability, especially this kind, you never know what can happen. So I think the biggest thing is just making sure who you share this type of information with, that who can truly help support you and building that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Because other people just can't deal with it. They may think that they can, but when it comes down to it, they really can't. So blue is often associated with sadness, but also serenity.
Hmm.
How does that duality show up in your book, Natalie?
Well, it shows up because Tony is sad in the beginning of the book. She is sad. She's hurt. She's disappointed by love. She's so disappointed that she's using her body to um, to prevent herself from falling in love. So she's being promiscuous. Um, but as the story goes on, all my stories are happily ever afters. So as the story goes on,
Okay.
Tony finds her serenity and her peace in love.
Well, I might have to borrow Tony because Tony needs to meet my character China in my book.
Oh
Because
yeah,
them two would be a piece of work. Them two would be a piece of work if they ever ran into each other in the city or something like that. They would definitely be. Man,
yeah,
oh man, I'm listening to what you're telling me about it, and I'm just thinking about China like, oh baby, you two of that. Mm.
yeah. Tony's
And what?
Tony's a character for real.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying about China. She's a piece. She's a piece of something. But I love her. I love it. Let me ask the both of you. This is something off the beat. Well, your book is more about something personal and real. Natalie, do you feel anything for your character at all? Because I know I love my character, and I'm very. It just seems odd, but I'm very protective of her.
Oh no, I'm so right there with you. I love my characters.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
actually, when I'm done writing a book, I miss them. It's like they're real people. I miss them, especially my very first book. Then came you. Oh my gosh, I thought I was just going to pass out because I couldn't be with Shannon and Zanaya and Brian and Jabari anymore. So yeah, I know I love my characters like they are real people. And then sometimes I'll be talking to my husband and I'll be talking about my characters, and then he'll go in the middle of the conversation, "Who are you talking about?" I'm like, "I'm talking about Tony and
Yeah.
Darius." He was like, "You know what? I need you to tell me when you talked about your character, your storybook characters."
Yeah, because it's just that you've been with them for such a long time. You created
Yes.
them,
Yes.
and you know that every thought, and then there's a thought that comes through your mind, and then you wonder, should you introduce them to that? And I thought I was the only person that did that, but I'm so glad
No.
to
And
find
that's
out
like
that
when
it's not
people
just
kill
me.
off their main characters. I could never kill my characters. In one of my books, one of my characters did get injured and I almost cried. But I
In one
could
of my
never
books, I have
kill
a
off my
character.
characters.
I have a character that I want to kill this woman so bad. I'm telling you, I really want to put my hands around her neck,
Oh, now
but
I have
I
characters
need
like that,
her.
but not my main
I
characters.
need her. I need her. I think she wasn't a main character, but she's becoming one, and
Ah,
I need her
okay.
to move her into the second and third book of that series, because she's got some stuff going on that is just gonna hit people. It's gonna hit people, and they're gonna hit back. Put it that way. So, in what ways has writing this book served as a form of healing or therapy for you, Farron, or for your readers? Was that your intention from the start, or did the process was it just a process for you, or a process by surprise?
You know what? I would have to say a little bit of both. So for me, it became my release. So
Mm-hmm.
putting pain into words gave me power over it. So you hear those things, like I said, you're just manifesting those things. So for readers, I've had women reach out and say that they felt like I was telling their story. So it helped them feel less alone, and then it gave them the language to open up about their own struggles. So I think the more and more I
So I
talk
think
about
that
it,
it opened up doors.
yeah, the more and more I talk about it, the more and more the healing comes, because you get you measure like how far you come. And then it's like a person that's usually strong for other people. Um, I can still be strong for other people, but now I can be strong for myself. I can be strong for myself because I've turned what I felt like was the most trying time in my life. Like literally, the questions were why me, but now it's why not me, right? Why not me? Even though it's a daily struggle. And sometimes I look at her and I, never want to question God because I know that everything has a purpose. But sometimes I look at her and I often, still kind of question, like, why is this sweet, bright, bubbly girl, like, but it's her journey. And I understand that sometimes our journeys are not for us, it's for those that are around us. And
You're going to
so,
take your daughter as far as you can take her, and then he's going to say thank you, and then he's
mhm,
going to take her and let her be her own voice,
yeah.
because it's coming, because you're teaching her already.
Hmm.
She's paying attention and she's watching. She may be a little girl and doing her thing, but you're going
Yeah.
to take it for as far as you can take her, and as far as he wants you to take her, because there's another assignment waiting for you, but he needs for
Hmm.
you to finish this one, and that's why he's not giving you the other one right now, because this one is so very important, and it's waking people up. Even though the children don't have IP, they're saying to themselves, wow, if she's able to do that, I can do this. And I need to not be afraid to come out and say that this is what's going on with my child.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people are still, like what you said, they're holding it in and they're not letting it out. What powerful conversation do you hope that the voice of a mother's pain will ignite while families, especially between mothers and their children? And how
So,
you envision fathers?
you know what? The biggest thing is that I hope it opens up space for vulnerability, for children to recognize that their mothers, as human, being layered with all these emotions, and then for mothers just to feel safe expressing their needs and not meeting everyone else's. I hope that the healing
So how do you?
begins.
Mhm.
Sorry. I hope that the
No, go
healing
ahead.
begins so we can stop pretending that we're okay and start telling the truth. Because as women, we're naturally strong. But
Yeah.
there are times where I, admitted like this is a lot. This is a lot to take in. This is a lot for a first time mom, not knowing anything. But I knew that the biggest thing that I was going to love her regardless. I was going to love her regardless of what happened. I still love her just as much, even with IP. It doesn't matter. So for me, it was just being okay with not being okay, and just realizing that this is our life. And again, just that shift in your perspective and how you choose to deal with it is what um, I hope that mothers can recognize, and then like I said, for children to recognize that their mothers as human beings with layered emotions. We're emotional people, but I think at the same
We're
time,
definitely emotional beings.
yeah,
We're
just
definitely
expressing those
emotional
feelings.
beings. So Natalie, how do
Mhm.
you define love through the lens of your characters, and does that definition shift as you wrote?
Um, Again, defining love through them is discovering each other, discovering themselves, and discovering that they like each other. Once they get past all the walls that they've got up, they discover that they love each other. Um,
Wow.
I don't think that my understanding of love got any deeper, but my understanding of love continues to grow as I write the books because I get to fall in love every time I write one of these books. I get to go
That's
through
cool.
all the emotions, the ups, the downs, the sideways. I get to go through all of that. But in the end, I get to fall in love and have a happily ever after. And that's one of my goals is to put this is my way of putting love into the world. I can't love on everybody, but I can put this out there. That's my effort.
I love
So,
that.
what lasting impact do you hope To Be Loved by Blue leaves on readers?
Um that they can not necessarily just to be loved by blue, but any of my books is that it's a place to go to escape because there's so much
Mm,
going on in the world right now that we need an escape. And that's what my books are. They're an escape to get away from the ills of the world, the things that are stressing us out, this climate of politics that we live in. We need a chance to get away, and that's what I want for my books to do for my readers. Give them an opportunity to get away, to have that happily ever after, that reason to smile.
wow. So, what deeper truth or transformation do you want them to walk away with after experiencing this story?
That love is real and love exists because I talk to a lot of people when I'm out doing events and selling my books, and they say, "Oh, I don't do romance. I don't believe in love. Love ain't real." I don't. I want people to know love is real. How can love not be real? God is love, and He created
Mm,
created us to be
mm,
in relationships. So I want those readers to know that love is real. It exists, and and hopefully these
don't
books
be
will
afraid of
keep.
it.
Say it again.
Some people, I was saying, don't be afraid of it. Some people are afraid of falling in love because they got hurt the first
Exactly.
time and they just don't want to take the chance again.
Right. And
So,
you get hurt
just don't be
sometimes two,
afraid of it.
three, four times. But you can't stay down just because you get knocked down. You got to try again. If it's something that you
Oh,
really truly want, you have to try. And I know it's so much easier said than done because it requires being vulnerable. It's like Farron was talking about being vulnerable. Falling in love is being vulnerable too. You have to open yourself up and allow somebody in. When you do that, that opens you up to the possibility of being hurt, but it also opens them up to the possibility of being hurt as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Baron, what unexpected truths or revelations did you uncover about yourself while writing The Voice of a Mother's Pain?
That I was stronger than I thought.
Amen.
Um, but
Amen.
also, that strength isn't about holding everything together. That it's about being willing to fall apart and still get back up. Just like Natalie just said, you get knocked down, but being willing to get back up. I also realized that, again, my pain had purpose. So sharing it could help others to find their purpose and
So how
their
did
pain.
the process of
Sorry, go ahead.
telling your story transform you?
You know, the whole experience has just been a whole life changing experience. First of all, it stretched my faith, right? It stretched my faith. Listen, I I had to literally lean on him to see me through. Um,
Mm,
and I tell people all the time, if you have to believe, because this type of situation can um, literally take you out. If you when you read the book, you'll see all the stuff that we went through, and you would literally be like, "How? Like how?" Are you still, here? How are you still moving through it? But my faith is what kept me. And I had to strengthen my faith in order to get me where I am today. So that's a transformation for me. It's just the strength in faith, the strengthening in my faith, just to know that even though, you always hear you don't look like what you've been through, and I always thank
yes,
God that we
always.
don't look like what we've been through. Although I'm not physically living with IP, it's still my story because I'm raising someone who
Who's
I,
living with
I've
it.
never heard of
Mhm.
this condition before. This is where the NICU doctors, her neurologist, her I can't think of the doctor name, but we all Google this to figure this out. So this is not, you hear other disabilities like autism, which is known, and even though there's a huge, broad spectrum from autism, it's a well-known disability. But when you hear IP, everybody's like, "What? What is that?" So I knew I had to always be prepared to explain what it is, and it brings me joy to do so because I get to teach people how to treat my daughter when she's around,
I don't
to
know.
teach people what they're going to look for when she's around and how to handle her.
I don't know whether you play baseball or not, but I see it as
Softball.
God having this big old mitt to allow you to fall into when you need to. And then when he's ready to throw you back out there because he knows it's time for you to go back out there, that's what he does. And he has thrown you out there so many times because he didn't want you to give up. And it's because only you can deliver this message. He could have picked anybody else and chosen anybody else's child, but he picked you because you weren't going to lay back and just let it be. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have still been crying and then being upset and then being blaming other people. So he knew who he wanted to choose, and he chose you.
I tell
And I
people all
thank
the
him for
time.
that, and I thank you for the process.
You're welcome. I tell people all the time, I love that he chose me to be her mother. Like, I love it. I don't know, like you said, I don't know if anybody else would have taken these steps. I
Yeah,
didn't, I don't know, but I love that he chose me to be her mom, so that I could, advocate for her, to be her voice. And like you said, she's watching, she watches everything. But I can't wait to I tell people all the time, she is going to be a genius. I'm speaking it now, and I know
well,
what it
I
looks like
see
now.
you two together, and you two it's the cutest things I ever did see when y'all together. The look in your eyes, and the look that she has when she's looking up at you.
Yes.
It's just like looking at the moon. I don't know if anybody else has ever seen it, but I see that when I see her looking up at you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a
Yep.
magnet thing that you just see being right. Tell me, somebody, have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Yeah,
Tell me about
absolutely.
I've see, I've seen it.
I
I've seen
love
that.
seeing them
You
together.
know, so forgive me for going that deep, but I do. I see that no matter how it's going, if she's standing in front of you and you're hugging her, it's still there.
it.
It's still there.
Yep.
It's
Although she's
still there.
almost
And
taller,
it's
she's
not
almost
going
taller than me
anywhere.
now, so I don't know how that's gonna work. I'll be looking up to her.
Well,
So,
then you're gonna be going like this. She's gonna
honestly,
be going like this, and you're gonna be going like Natalie, is there a particular passage or moment into Be Loved by You that deeply moved you while you were writing it? Something that
Yes.
still lingers into your spirit today?
Yes. Yes.
Share that with me.
So, like I said, Tony's a card, and she challenged Darius at one point. They had gone out for dinner, and he was taking her home. She was standing on a stoop, which now she's already an inch taller than him. So now this stoop has made her a few more inches taller, and her breasts come to his eyes, to his eye level. Well, she's flaunting them in his face, so he takes the challenge, and he puts his hand under her
Oh,
shirt, and now she's freaking out because she's like, I didn't think he was like that. Why is he really getting ready to do this on the street where people can see us? Well, he just kind of looks at her. Then he picks her up, puts her on the sidewalk so that they're eye level. And he tells her, don't you ever let anybody disrespect you like that. That that is what
wow.
all women want from their men. When we decide
Wow.
to do something stupid or step out of the box, we want that man to say, hey, don't do that. Don't you
hmm
do that to yourself. So yeah, that
You
moment
know
stuck
what?
with me.
I'm looking at him a little differently now. And before I was laughing at him, but I'm looking at him.
You got to get to know
Oh, I'm gonna
Darius.
admit it that I was laughing at Darius in the beginning because of that corny line, but I have to hand it to him. You
Yes.
turned me around a little bit, Darius. I'm still not gonna date you because you're short, but you really did. I'm really surprised at you. Go ahead, Darius. Put your
Now
bags
Darius
up.
isn't short. Darius is 6 feet tall, but Tony's tall too. She's 6'1".
Okay. That he might just get over a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. So what message would you offer to a mother still carrying her pain in silence, parent, who have not yet found the strength to give her story a voice? Because a lot of them are walking around in pain.
you know what? You don't have to carry it alone. That's the message that I would give is that you do not have to carry it alone. Um, and that like I said, I hope that this book would give permission for mothers who are raising children with any disability, whatever it may be, not just IP, but just hope that they would be to know that there's power in being vulnerable, um, and
Mm.
that's where the healing starts, right? You just acknowledging what you went through. Um, but again, until they're able to find their voice, I hope that this book is a reminder for them that they are not alone, and that there are five other women in this book who have, graciously, I can't thank them enough just for being open to share this journey with me. Because again, stuff like this is traumatizing when you have to go revisit. For me, Kamaya's 10, so it's not far
Mm.
back, but far back enough to have to go back and visit those hospital days, um, and even like I said, upon my own recovery at the same time. So there's a lot going on. It wasn't just her; it was also me. But I wasn't important for me. It was I needed her to be okay. But then it's the message and making sure that we take care of ourselves as mothers, because we
Self
can't
care.
pour from an empty cup. So we got to fill our cup so we can overflow in the lives of others.
I love how you
Exactly.
say
So
there's power in vulnerability. I love that phrase.
yes. So if To Be Loved by You were adapted into a film, what kind of soundtrack would you bring its emotions to life?
Oh, it would be sexy and sultry. Some Brian McKnight, some Kim.
Oh, I love
Yes.
Kim. I
Because
love Kim.
All right,
one of
now
the
here we
ladies
go.
who did
Here we go. You got
who
me
did a
going now.
One of the ladies who did a review for me said that Darius, no, it was my editor. She said Darius had her reaching for her husband.
Yeah, that's a good book.
So you got that big old picture behind you of Darian.
Yes.
Now that's something that you made up, but he's looking pretty real.
Oh yeah. Oh look,
He's looking
I
pretty,
would date
pretty real.
Darius.
And
I would date Darius.
now who's the chick that's on the side of him? That is that Tony?
That's Tony.
Oh, she gotta
Yeah,
go.
she got to go.
She gotta go. I don't even. I'm gonna change it now. I don't even like her for him. There we go. I don't even like her for. I don't even like that dress she wearing. No, 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 no,
But
no,
that's Tony. But
no,
you got to
no.
get to
She.
know her. You got to get to know her story.
I don't want to know her now that he done said what he said. I don't need to know her. She can go on about her business. She can go on about her business. So I don't even want to mess with her. Sharon, what's next for you on your journey as an author? Do you see yourself continuing to write stories that center on healing, truth, and emotional transformation?
Yes, absolutely. So healing is a
Okay.
journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. So I want to continue telling stories that shines a light on silent battles that people face, especially women and mothers. Fathers also go through it. So I know the voice of a mother's pain, but it certainly serves as a book for parents, period. Because like you mentioned, my husband also went through it, and I share a little bit about
Mhm.
that piece of it in there as well. Just what my thought process was like for him when both of us were in the hospital, right? I got him being strong for all of us now because I can no longer be strong for myself. We're on two separate floors. It was a
Mhm.
lot for him. So, um, my goal is to create a space for more voices, more healing, and for more hope.
I believe that you would do that. I honestly do. Natalie, how
Mhm.
has writing this book reshaped your understanding of what it truly means to be seen, known, and deeply loved, flaws, pain, and all?
Wow. Um, it's just a reminder again that love is not a straight path. It has curves, it has twists, it has turns,
Hmm.
but it takes faith and strength to hold on and make it through. If that again, you have to want it because it's easy to give up. So easy to give up. But you have to remember it's everything is there's nothing that's perfect, that nothing that's easy. But if you want to be successful in it, you got to hang in there. I've been married, it'll be 39 years in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I
Congratulations.
I would not sit here and tell anybody that it's been easy. But the good outweighs the
Mm, all the
Absolutely.
time.
bad all the
So,
time.
ladies, for those deeply moved by your stories, how can listeners and viewers stay connected with you, follow your journey, or support your work beyond the pages of your book?
So you can follow my author page on Facebook, author Farron McLemore, or you can visit authorfarronmclemore.com where you can keep up with the journey. I actually started that new page where I'll be blogging, so you'll get to also dive a little deeper. But make sure that you do go purchase The Voice of a Mother's Pain. I cannot tell you how moved you would be, how inspired you would be, just from these powerful women sharing their powerful stories.
Mm. And you can
All right,
find my
Natalie.
book on my website, natsbooks.net. All of my books are there. I was just telling the ladies that I just finished book number 10. It's not published yet, but you can find all the rest of my books there. You can follow
Mhm.
me. I have two Facebook pages. I have Natalie R. Murphy, author. That book gives you a lot of information about how to self publish because I am a self publishing coach. And if you want some fun and
Wow.
romantic and kind of spicy, fun stuff, my Make Room for Romance page on Facebook. Follow me there. That page
Mm.
is hilarious.
Woo-wee. Tonight was nothing short of powerful. A huge thank you to Farron McLemore and Natalie Murphy for sharing
Thank
their
you.
truth, their
Thank you.
tears, and
Yes.
their triumphs with us. Their words are reminded that healing is linear. And healing is actually, to tell you the truth, healing is not linear, but it's possible. Be sure to grab your copies of The Voice of a Mother's Pain and To Be Loved by Blue, because these stories will stay with you long after the last page. Thank you all for tuning in, and don't forget our next show is June 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we return with our signature panel discussion for cracks in the surface, strengths in the core, not easily broken. You already know that's where real healing happens. Until next time, take care of your spirit, speak your truth, and remember your story is superpower. Thanks for keeping it basic. Good night, everyone.